We're going to look at something. We just looked at the issue of the balm in Gilead, and that has introduced what I'll be talking about today. Okay? Now, those of you, I just want to apologize for those of you who are used to the conventional kind of faith that blocks away your reason. Okay? You're used to the faith that blocks your reason, and makes you, you just because you want to switch off. Actually, some people see faith as something to help them switch off from the world. Okay? And it's not really bad, but when it has to do with devotion, okay, you will find a conflict when it actually means something. And it is in this time that a lot of people find that their faith has to mean something, and of course people will not want it because they think it's going to radicalize you. But of course, I believe that through my podcasts, I've been able to talk a little about the difference between worship and radicalization. And when you are able to grow and mature to that point where your work life merges with your worship life, you find that you are able to escape that trap of polarity as it were, or dichotomy between everyday life and what faith is all about. Okay, so this is the issue, so that you get less lost in the world, the current world that we're in. So today I'm going to be looking at Jesus feeding 5,000 and Joseph feeding the world. Okay, when you read Genesis chapter 41 verse 1 to 47 to 57, you will see the story of Joseph, this young man, the great grandson of Abraham, that was stolen from his land, from where he was, and taken into Egypt as a slave. Okay, betrayed by his own brothers, okay, in the bush. And he was taken there, and he was able, after some years in prison, after a few events, he served in a rich man's house and was taken to prison, accused falsely, taken to prison. And in prison he met the officials from the court of Pharaoh, and the baker in Pharaoh's palace, and the butler, okay, the head of the winery is the butler. And he met the two of them, and two of them were accused of treason, and that accusation led them into jail, okay, into prison. Now both of them had dreams, and it was known that Joseph had the gift of interpreting dreams, and so they brought their dreams to him, and Joseph interpreted the two dreams. And the dream was that the butler was going to be restored to his position, okay, but the baker would be executed because it would be discovered that he participated in the plan to unseat Pharaoh, or to kill Pharaoh. Okay, so this was what happened, and of course it happened just as Joseph said it would. Okay, and the butler was released while the baker was condemned to death. But when the butler got back into Pharaoh's court, he forgot. Okay, he forgot what had happened. Instead of recommending Joseph, okay, because Joseph asked him to remember him because he is here falsely accused falsely, and he forgot. Okay, he forgot, and he went to Pharaoh's court, and business as usual. But what happened during that period was that Pharaoh had another dream, and it was when he woke up in the morning, Pharaoh knew that this dream was important, and that if he did not know the meaning of this dream, he was going to be in trouble. And so he called all his magicians and all the people that could tell him the dream, and they could not tell him the dream. And that was when the butler remembered, oh, there is this guy in prison that knows how to interpret dreams. And so he told Pharaoh about Joseph, and Joseph was brought to Pharaoh, and Joseph was able to interpret the dream. And the dream was simple. There was going to be 7 years of famine in Egypt. But those 7 years of famine will be preceded by 7 years of plenty, okay? There was going to be so much in Egypt, enough to eat, and there was going to be abundance, surplus. And so, when Pharaoh understood the meaning of the dream, and he said, because of he had never seen anybody with that kind of gift before, okay? So he said, because of that, he would appoint Joseph as the person who would oversee the process, okay, of saving Egypt from that famine that was going to come, because he had already asked Joseph, okay, what the solution should be, and Joseph had given him the right solution, okay, the wisest solution. And the wisest solution was that during the time of surplus, the surplus was to be saved, okay, put in barns, okay, and what do you call that, silos, and so that during the time of famine they would go back into the silos, harvest, and bring out the stored grain, and the people will not be hungry again. So go to the next slide. There is another scripture, John chapter 3, okay, John 5, John 6 verse 1 to 15. Okay, now that records for us next Jesus Christ feeding 5,000 people. Okay, feeding 5,000 people. Now, when those people were fed, it was such a miracle. Okay, of course, what they would come to their mind was, first of all, Joseph. Okay, how Joseph fed the world, and second, how Moses also fed them in the wilderness. Okay, with manna. There's another story of Moses feeding them with manna and all that. Okay, and this is what they saw in that this thing. So they grabbed Jesus and they wanted to make him king immediately. He said, "This must be the Messiah. Let us anoint him king over us all." Because that is the next thing. It was normal. Anybody who could save you that way was supposed to be the king. And so, but Jesus ran away from them because that was not his purpose. Okay, so we want to look at that today. What is Jesus really saying? Okay, what is Jesus really saying in all this that he has done? We have looked at it through another mirror, another lens. Now we'll look at it from this lens. I just want to continue opening your minds to the reality of what we're talking about. Here in CRMI, we should stop looking at life the way others look at it. Okay? About everything we're looking for a miracle. God must do a miracle. That is why our economy is in a mess. Okay? That's why our economy is in a mess. Because we are so religious, but we cannot bring these two things together. Our religion and everyday life. We fail at that. We want God to do miracles. That's what we just looked at. Where is the balm in Gilead? Okay? And Jeremiah was trying to handle that same thing. The value of faith in a world where the only thing that was important was actually the things of the physical things that we eat from day to day. So we'll look at that after this.
Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
Alright, so we go to John chapter 3 verse 14 and Numbers chapter 21 verse 9, and we look at these scriptures we looked at before, talking about John chapter 3 verse 14. If I be lifted up, okay, then I will draw all men unto me. And that was just a quote trying to describe what happened in Numbers chapter 21 verse 9. And we find that these passages set a foundation for us to see what Jesus actually did. Okay? It was actually, Numbers 21 was just a prophecy about what will happen in the future. Jesus is the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. And just as the bronze snake in Numbers 21 verse 9 represents Jesus Christ, so the body represents what? Sin. Okay? What happened? That scenario was very, very simple actually. The people sinned against God by allowing their enemies, who were the Moabites, to send women into their midst to tempt them into sexual orgies. Okay, so the women of Moab came into Israel and they tempted the men of Israel, and the men of Israel went into sexual orgies with them, and God was not happy, and so he sent snakes into the Israeli camp, and the snakes started biting the people, and of course they were very poisonous snakes, so the people were dying. And when the people now cried out to God, okay, something happened. Of course, Joshua and some of the other men found a way of stopping the plague, but the people were still dying of, okay, they found a way of stopping the sin, but the people were still dying of the plague, of snake bites. And so Moses made a bronze snake and he put it up, so that everybody who was dying and looked up at the bronze snake would now become well again. And what that represented was what Jesus was actually going to do on the cross. Okay? This body of sin, what made the people to sin? It was the body, the physical body, is that not? So by putting the body on the pole, okay, by killing the body, okay, sin was conquered, okay. And so that's just the symbol of it. That thing that brought disease, the snake bite, okay, by killing it, by putting a symbol of it on a stake, anybody who looked at it was saved. Now anybody who looked at Christ, okay, will be saved. Anybody who looks at Christ will be saved. And at the same time, Christ is the kind of a system that has proliferated itself among the people. Okay? There's a dual symbolism there. Okay? Christ himself, why would Christ allow himself to be compared with a snake? Okay? You must ask that. The same thing we talked about. The inability to draw a clear link, okay, between your everyday life, okay, and the worship. Okay, Christ wanted to deal with that problem. So when they came, they preferred to see somebody who will come and heal, will come and do a miracle, okay? But Christ, and that led them to the first sin. If you remember, the first sin of Adam and Eve, okay? Remember, who did they listen to? They listened to the serpent, the same guy, okay? The snake, eh? So that is why the snake was used and put on a what? And put on a pole. So they listened to a snake, and that was what made them to eat the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what was that supposed to do? It was supposed to give them divine knowledge, okay? Something they didn't learn by experience. They didn't go to school to learn. They didn't learn it just by doing what God said. Look after the garden, okay? They just wanted supernatural knowledge to just come. And that's why they ate the fruit. They didn't want to die. They wanted to become like God immediately. So God was sacrificing that system, okay, by sacrificing Christ. And remember what Christ did. He came healing, okay? He came healing, he came raising the dead without any scientific applications. And that brought sin. That was what brought sin into the world. That is the same reason he punished the sons of God for teaching the people how to heal. Okay? Genesis chapter 6. Remember that? Okay? Genesis chapter 6, the same reason. So he was sacrificing that system that brought sin into the world in favor of another system. Okay? That will bring life. Let's go. So this is a picture of the priest, okay, in those days. And this was the beginning of God trying to make that transition. Next. God trying to make that transition. He has sacrificed that in favor of God's plan for human beings. Sin came into the world through the serpent deceiving the woman. I've already said this, okay? And giving her a shortcut to God's purpose. The serpent is hung on a pole, Jesus is hung on a tree. Okay? The serpent is the one who deceived her. Okay? So this is the thing. The symbolic serpent heals Israel. Jesus is the symbolic death heals the world. Okay? Are you listening? Next slide. So the typological map of Jesus in the Bible. So to go further, let us see now those typologies so that we can build even a stronger foundation. Okay? Jesus and Joseph. We see that Genesis 12 verse 1 to 3. It says what? Through you, he told Abraham, through you, I will what? All the nations of the world will be blessed. Okay? See, through you, through your seed, all the nations of the world will be blessed. And that happened in Joseph's case. Okay? Joseph, remember, all the grain that was stored up didn't only save Egypt from the years of famine. The famine was not just limited to Egypt, it was a global famine. Okay? So people from all over the world came to buy grain. So it happened. The prophecy was fulfilled. Okay? Through Joseph. And that is why Joseph is like Jesus. Okay? Through the seed of Abraham, all nations of the world were blessed through Joseph. Moses and Jesus, Deuteronomy chapter 18, this one is clear. It says, a prophet like myself, who will save you? Moses saved the people, was used by God to save the people from Egypt. Okay? And that was where Passover, the celebration of Passover began. And of course we know that Jesus came to fulfill what? Passover. Okay? So those typologies are very, very clear in the Bible. It's just not the cross. We normally emphasize the cross, okay? As written in my book, okay? But it is a very well developed theology in the Bible. Okay? It's a very well developed theology. Moses and Jesus are a type. That is why it was Moses and Elijah that appeared to Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. Okay? So another type of Jesus is Elijah. And it is said that at the end time Elijah will come. Okay? David and Jesus. Of course, David is the son of Jesus is the son of David. Okay? And there is a prophecy in Psalms about that. Okay? So that is it. Adam and Jesus. Romans 5 again. Okay? Jesus is the second Adam. Okay? In recapitulating God's decision not to destroy the physical world. And there's a lot on that. The YouTube podcasts have a very clear explanation on that. If you go into that, the book The Kingdom of Heaven, there's another explanation on that based on the cross. Okay? Noah and Jesus. Noah also saved the world, okay, by saving those 8 people on the boat. Jesus does the same thing. So let's continue. Next. So now we look at the ancient Egypt, okay? We are now looking at ancient Egypt.
Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and the 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
Now we go to ancient Egypt. Okay? Ancient Egypt is where Joseph ruled, and that was the beginning of God fulfilling his prophecy. And we're going to focus on that and see explore deeper the typology between Joseph and Jesus. Okay? So next slide. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. Jesus also was betrayed by his people, okay? Especially Judas, of course, handed over to Pilate, the Romans, to crucify him. Jesus saved humanity. Joseph also saved the world in his own time, okay? Through his wisdom, God gave him the interpretation of the dream and the solution to the problem. And this we talked about that. Jesus refused to be king on earth, but in heaven he became king, okay? Became a king in heaven, but he refused to be a king on earth. And we're going to be concentrating on that, okay? But Joseph was a king in Egypt, okay? So these are the two similarities in these two people, and it is a very clear typology of who Jesus is. And when we go to John chapter 6 verse 1 to 15, where Jesus fed those 5,000 people, okay? And they attempted to make him king and he refused. We see why we ask the question, why did Jesus refuse to be king here on earth, okay? He resurrected and became king in heaven, okay? Was always king in heaven, arguably, okay? But why did he refuse? So it wasn't a new thing. The kingship in heaven was not a new thing, okay? But he refused the kingship on earth for a reason, okay? Because it was going to deter him from his purpose. So why? Because it was going to deter him from his purpose. And we ask the question again, why did Jesus allow his servant to be used, okay? To compare the king, while still using the lamb as a typology, okay? So he used the lamb, okay? And he used the serpent. Remember, the Muslims believe that because Abraham did not sacrifice his son, okay? Jesus also did not die, okay? So this thing I'm talking about is very important, okay? It's very important. If not, you will just become a Muslim, okay? Because they just picked up one story about, and we talked about this when in the last podcast, talking about the great gamble theory, okay? Why was Jesus supposed to die? Okay, did he have to die? Okay, did he have to die? He chose to die. John chapter what? Chapter 8. Okay, he chose to die, but he did not have to die. Okay, not have to die. And their own understanding of that has led them to use that story about God not sacrificing his son Isaac. Okay, but instead bringing a lamb, okay? And so they hold very strongly to that and say it's not possible for Jesus to have died, okay? So this is what we need to understand. So this is why Jesus will allow a serpent to be used, okay? Because he's teaching us, okay? And so if you don't read the Bible, you will be lost. He's teaching, that is the main reason he allowed a serpent to be compared with him, okay? So that we'll understand why he had to die, or why he chose to die, okay? So we see this in Genesis chapter 3, we see it in Genesis chapter 6. We discussed all these three scriptures in Genesis and Deuteronomy 18, okay? Now all these scriptures give us the answer, okay? Why Jesus had to die. Of course, the serpent deceived Eve, okay? The system that brought about this magic was not a good system, okay? He put us in the garden and said, tend the garden, use physical work, okay? To tend the garden. But we went and accepted what the devil brought. Magic, just no good and evil, kawaii, straight. And Genesis 6, again, the sons of God came, okay? Tried to give us that shortcut again, even after the fall. And God said, no, that is not my purpose. I want them to learn, okay? Deuteronomy 18, okay? Him coming as a Messiah, okay? A Savior, like Moses. So all give us this answer to the question that we need. And we discover that this flesh is a deceiver, okay? Is a deceiver. It is a deceiver. It will lead us to a lot of things. And it's because if it was the pre-fall situation where we did not need healthcare interventions, okay? But now that we need healthcare, it becomes a deceiver. It is weak, okay? So it draws us into sin, just like those women drew the men of Israel into sin, okay? And caused them to be bitten by a snake. Next slide. So this is Jesus on the cross, okay? Jesus on the cross. That was the purpose. Instead of a snake, I wanted to get a picture of a snake, and up to today, the medical people use that snake. You know that? These days it's not very popular. When we were kids, before you got into jute, you must put that emblem of a snake on a staff, okay? Because that's the emblem of medicine, okay? I wonder, because medicine, of course, came from Christianity, okay? Modern medicine, it was imbibed into Christianity. So that's why that snake is put on a bronze, okay? So that's the emblem of modern medicine. But this is the Jesus on the cross.
It's a long, long way back home. It's a dry and dusty path to where I belong. I hear you calling, my heart is breaking. I hear your voice, you're saying, come home, come home. I hear the trumpets, my heart rejoicing. I hear your voice, you're saying, come home, come home. I hear you calling, my heart is breaking.
So Jesus sacrificed the way of the flesh and that was brought about by the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay? False miracles. Remember that this is the review, what we're talking about, okay? Jesus sacrificed the way of the flesh brought about by the tree of knowledge of good and evil. False miracles. The overemphasis on miracle, and then actually, because you don't have the habit, you deceive people. Okay? And Jesus had to take it away. And of course, what he did was to reveal the true way of sacrifice through patience and perseverance. Okay? Through patience and perseverance, he revealed it. And that is why he had to go through that rigorous death on the cross. Even though he was God. Even though he had promised through Isaac that actually he does not accept human sacrifice, okay? But because he is God, okay, he does not ask us to sacrifice our sons. Remember the Israeli law that says that every firstborn belongs to God, okay? But do they actually sacrifice the firstborn? No, there's a replacement, okay? There's a replacement. The lamb is used instead. And so Jesus Christ had to die on the cross, okay? He had to die on the cross because he is God, he is the Son of God. Okay, so he now pays the price, sacrifices himself. Okay, and so we too are forced to now sacrifice our time. Go study the podcast on engineering. Okay, sacrifice your time to think through issues, to work. Okay, instead of looking for those miracles. You know, go and sit down, study the thing. Okay, how can I get solutions to this my problem? Okay. This is the thing. Our collective individual sacrifice leads to collective and individual prosperity. Okay? When we all do our part, it's not one person that will go and sit down and do everything, then you come. This is what we are suffering in this year. That's why we had to close our doors for a while. Okay? Everything, or let us go and study the thing and let's go and give them so that they will enjoy it. Okay? And it still happens in some cultures. Somebody will go to school and he's the only person to go to school and get the degree and come where everybody enjoys the benefits. This is the problem we have in Africa, okay? We must stop it. It is for you children to learn, okay? We all must go out there and study. so that one person will not carry one thing on his head, okay, and the thing will collapse because it is too much for him to carry. Don't depend on the engineering degree of one person or the medical degree of one person, okay? Go and do it yourself. And you find that when we come together, we become powerful, okay? Become strong. That's the problem we have in Africa. And when we learn this, Africa will develop, okay? Africa will develop. The Western world has moved far away. They are going far, okay? And we are carrying some of these things and we are exporting it back there. It's wrong. Let's stop that, okay? That's why they are closing their borders. So this is the issue. So spiritual salvation is inextricably linked to our physical actions. This is the lesson that we need to learn, okay? Spiritual salvation is inextricably linked to our physical actions. And when you want to answer the question of faith versus works, okay, that is how you answer it. And you know that works are important. They don't save you by themselves, okay? But they are important because once saved, you must continue to work, okay? You must continue to work. So Joseph and Jesus answer to human needs was simple. Both of them answered it the same way. Remember when Jesus fed the 5,000, he told the apostles to save the remainder, okay? Saving from the surplus. Genesis 41 saving from the surplus, okay? Saving from the. How to survive in these times is to save from the surplus. The knowledge you have is a savings, okay? The knowledge you have, get knowledge as much as possible, save it for the time of need. When you get resources and you are having more than you need, save it, okay? Save it for the time of need. Save it for the time of need. In rounding up, Jesus did not need to feed the world. All he needed to do was to save it. All he needed to do was to save it. Because he was coming to fulfill the law, okay? He had already given the law. The law was already there for us. All we needed, which includes the story of Joseph, okay? How to survive. All he needed to do was come and to take away sin, to destroy the power of sin. And that is what he did. Okay? And he said, I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done. Okay? And even greater works. John chapter 14 verse 12. So that is what Jesus did. Okay? That is what Jesus did. And I am David Dungi Chinke in Searching the Heart today.
It's a long, long way back home. It's a dry and dusty path to where I belong. I hear you calling, my heart is breaking. I hear your voice, you're saying come home, come home. I hear the trumpets, my heart rejoicing. I hear your voice, you're saying come home, come home. I hear you calling, my heart is breaking.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with two insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth. And the 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.